Welcome to the Bending the Bracket podcast. Here are your hosts, Ben Madison and Lane Smith.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Bending the Bracket. I'm your host, Ben Madison, alongside my co-host, Lane Smith. Lane, we're finally back, sir.
Man, I can't believe it. It's like a short little vacation, but I missed the show. I missed being on with you, and looking forward to getting going again.
Me too. It has been, I want to say 10 days, but it may have been 14 days since we have last done this. And the excuse I have is I was moving to a new state. I am back in Louisiana, back alongside Mr. Smith in the Pelican State. Couldn't be more excited. Overall, we're going to kill it.
I'm excited to have you here, and maybe we can bring some live shows to you and really kick this thing off going good.
There you go. So back in the swing of things, we promise we're back to 2 shows a week from here on out. You have my word. You have Lane's word. It's going to happen. Friday and Mondays, mark it down.
Absolutely.
So let's get right into it. This is, without a doubt, the greatest weekend so far in football this season in the National Football League. So many great games to get to, and even in the noon hour, there's a lot of good matchups. So let's break that down. Let's start in Baltimore. You have the Titans and the Ravens. They're gonna be going at it. The line on this is Ravens -6. Your thoughts on this one?
Titans, it's tough. I think I like the Titans in this one. The Ravens are struggling. They got a problem there in Baltimore, and I think it starts at quarterback position. I like Jackson, but he's limited. We've seen that. Defenses are figuring him out more each week, and I think last week you saw that, and against Pittsburgh you saw that. You certainly saw it against Kansas City. This is not the same team as last year.
No, it's not. And when you combine the injuries with the fact, now they've had a lot of injuries, so they do have that as sort of an excuse. And when you also combine the fact that Lamar Jackson is in that the end of the honeymoon phase, right? These young players come in and they have this honeymoon phase, and then reality hits, and what they do with that is so important. And he's in that phase now where they're figuring out his game. He has to step up and develop his skills to counteract what teams are doing for him now. I think he can do it, but right now is a critical phase for him.
It is, and the difference is for Lamar Jackson that this new crop of quarterbacks, so to speak, is he's not like Burrow or Herbert or Tua, where he can run and throw. He's limited in his arm strength. He has trouble throwing the ball. Whereas the other guys, Burrow and the guys I just named, they can run and they can just as well pass the ball 50 yards downfield too. So he's not a part of that crop of quarterbacks. So he's kind of more. I'm trying to think who to relate him to. Where he's certainly got the speed. He certainly can run, but his arm strength. I'm just trying to think of who could be closely related to in the league right now.
Well, I think he has good arm strength. I just think he needs to work on the accuracy just a little bit more. He needs to work on throwing outside of the tackles, to the sidelines. If he can get a little better at that, he's got a good solid arm. But I know what you mean. He's not a passer first.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, he's not, and we're going to see how that goes down the stretch. This is the time where he's got to step up and really put the team on his back. And if they want to get in the postseason and compete for this division with a very good Pittsburgh team, now is the time.
Yeah, I don't want to say that their shot at the division is gone.
No,
but it's really close.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
They're 3 games back. Plus, Pittsburgh has the tiebreaker. For now, there's another matchup, which would be a big win for Baltimore. But they're going to be getting some of these players back that are injured. But they're in a really dangerous spot right now. A spot that I didn't think they would be in going into this season. As we've talked about, people were saying they were going to go 16-0. That was ludicrous, but I really thought they were going to be 14-2. And right now they're 6-3. They dropped this game. They're 6-4, and all of a sudden they've fallen down into that logjam of really solid teams in the AFC that we thought was going to be the NFC, but turns out to be in the AFC. You know, you have your Titans and you have your Raiders, your Dolphins, your Bills, possibly eventually the Patriots, Cleveland. You have a lot of teams all vying for those wild card spots.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the NFL this year is tight. I mean, every division minus the NFC least. All the divisions are tight. They're close races, and there's really no clear-cut winner, even in the West, which is the toughest division. You can figure it's going to be Seattle, but they've been struggling mightily here the last couple of weeks. You look at Arizona; they had a big win last week. They're not winning tonight. So far, that could change. We'll see. But I mean, there's that no division is decided yet.
Yeah. So with this game, I kind of agree with you. I think it's Tennessee's game to take, and Baltimore a 6-point favorite. They are at home, but that line seems steep to me. Yeah,
Tennessee defense is tough, and I know Baltimore's defense is tough, but I like Tennessee. Derrick Henry, the way Tannehill's playing, it's going to be hard to count them out.
Yeah, it is, and it's a very important game for both teams because Tennessee. Trying to come back from that loss over the division rival Colts. And so they need to keep pace with them. Baltimore, of course, needs to try to somewhat keep pace with Pittsburgh. So that's going to be one to watch. Definitely probably the best early game, although there's some good early games this week.
Yeah, there are. I was shocked because usually those 12 o'clock games are snoozers. But maybe they're going this late in the season, the league's finally giving us a gift.
Let's move down to New Orleans now, where it's going to be interesting. Drew Brees with the punctured lung, with the fractured ribs, is going to be out for a minimum of 2 to 3 weeks. And I actually think that's a bit aggressive. I think he's missing 4 games.
Yep.
Probably on the lower end, and maybe the rest of the regular season, depending.
Very well could be. 41 years old.
Yeah, I was going to say he's not 32. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm almost certain Jameis Winston has got to be the starter, although they haven't officially named a starter. I can't imagine you start Taysom Hill in this situation.
But okay, and I agree with you. Look, I think it'll be Winston, but this further goes to what I've been saying the entire season. If we are to believe that Taysom Hill is the replacement for Drew Brees, he has to start this game.
Oh, he does.
Because that's what they've been saying. They've been telling us Hill is the guy. Winston is a 1-year deal, and they're going to trade him or whatever they're going to do with him after the season. That's what they've been preaching since last year. So if Hill is your guy, you have got to start him in this game.
Oh, you've got to start him, but I don't think he is the guy, and I think that their actions have spoken louder than their words. If he was the future quarterback of that team, they wouldn't put him in harm's way every week on special teams.
Well, and he would have played last week when Brees went down.
Yes. So
there's nobody can tell me Hill is a guy in New Orleans.
No, it's Jameis Winston. This is going to be Jameis Winston's tryout. He's going to get 3 or 4 games to see if he can do it. And look, I think he can because he's got a ton of talent. He just needed some help. He needed some structure. Bruce Arians, while a little bit better, was just not the right fit for him. It was a loose culture. Jameis needs a lot of structure, and I think Sean Payton can give that to him and probably has given it to him.
I agree. I love this signing when it happened. I thought as soon as it happened, I think I texted you. I said, I love this because they're getting it for a fraction of the price. He's in his prime. He's young, and he can be the quarterback for years to come if he plays his cards right. And so far he has. He's been an ideal team player. He has not been in the media. He's not made the news for the wrong reasons. You saw him having fun a couple weeks ago in that primetime game, dancing in the clubhouse and eating his W in the post game. And, he's just having fun.
I just think that they should, ban eating the W forever. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
It really is. But it was good to see him having fun.
Oh, yeah.
And not being criticized for it. And doing it in the right situation.
No one cares what your backup quarterback does.
No, and look, I will push back a little bit on his time in Tampa because Arians was really good for him because Arians, as loose as that culture is, Arians did bring structure to him. He did not act out like he had in years past.
Yeah, it was a little better.
Yeah, it was, and he threw for 30 touchdowns. Now I know the comeback is you had 30 picks. Okay, fine, but he had never thrown for 30 touchdowns.
Yeah,
and in Arians' first year, he threw 30 touchdowns. That's not a mistake. And Peyton is 10 times better than Arians.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If he can bring
that
down, if he can bring the downside down, if that makes any sense.
I mean, if you look what Peyton did with Bridgewater, who's not, I was going to say half. I wouldn't say that, but Bridgewater doesn't have the skill set that Winston has.
No.
And he made it work last year for 6 weeks.
Yes.
So you got to figure if he can do that with Bridgewater, imagine what he can do with Winston and that skill set.
And the thing too is it's going to open up they're going to stretch the field finally.
Yep.
They're going to be able to throw the ball more than 15 yards.
Absolutely. Yep.
When you look at how good this offense is, even with the limitations, and defenses know that Drew Brees cannot throw the ball 60 yards anymore.
Right. So if you throw the long ball in that offense,
you throw that. All you do,
watch out.
You hit one or two of those, and all of a sudden, Kamara is going to go nuts.
Yep.
Because he's going to have so much more space in the box.
Absolutely.
So this is a very exciting thing. Now he could go out there and stink it up. I don't know.
Yeah, and he did. I mean, in garbage, and not garbage time, but when he came in for Brees, he did stink it up.
Yeah.
He wasn't very good. So we'll see what happens.
We will. And this Falcons team is pretty hot right now. They're a lot like the Vikings. You just never know what you're going to get with them. So I think this is a good test for the Saints. They're still a 4.5 point favorite at home with presumably Winston as the starter. And I think that's about right.
I think if they had fans, they'd be a 7 point favorite. But
Sure.
The Falcons are playing well, better than they were. They're playing inspired football. I think they like that coach. I don't think he's there long term, but he's good for to finish out the year. So I like the Saints in this one. We'll see. But it does have trap game written all over it, being a rivalry. It's in New Orleans. It's easy to look over the Falcons because of how they've been. But the Saints should win this game.
Yeah, they
rather
should.
Easily.
They should, and they should just be able to honestly just run the ball. I mean, even if Winston doesn't look good, run the ball, play time of possession, win the game. So,
and they got some tough games coming up. That don't show everything against the Falcons. Hold back a little bit.
Right, they have the Falcons twice in the next 3 weeks.
Yep.
So we'll see how that goes. It's still the Saints' division to lose. The way they dominated the Bucks twice. And but this is also the opportunity that Tampa may need, because if these quarterbacks can't get it done for New Orleans, then Tampa's right back in the driver's seat of that division.
Yeah, absolutely. And then looking long term, what does that mean for the Saints in the draft next year?
Yeah,
they're going to have real decisions to make.
Well, it's like you said, it's not like they haven't had 5 years to figure this out.
I have no sympathy for them at all. None. They have had ample opportunity to draft a quarterback. They have chosen not to. I have no sympathy for what happens to them after this year.
Maybe Winston's a guy. MVP Jameis Winston.
I personally hope he is, because if he's not, you're in real trouble.
Oh yeah. This franchise will go back to mediocrity at best.
Yep. And Peyton ain't sticking around for mediocrity.
No, he's out.
Yep.
He is out. So it'd be interesting to see. I like the line on that game, though. I think the Saints take it.
Yeah, I do too.
So let's move on to the Packers-Colts game, which is very interesting. It's a 3:25 Central kickoff, so 4:25 Eastern. This is a sneaky good matchup. Your thoughts on this one?
I'm really excited for this. The Colts have been massively underrated all year because their offense doesn't put up the flashy points. Rivers is not Rivers 5 years ago, obviously. So he has not been great. But that Colts defense is unbelievable. Next to Tampa, they're a fun defense to watch, and Chicago too, for that matter. But that Colts defense is underrated, and they don't get the respect they deserve. And seeing them go up against the Packers in that run game, and Aaron Rodgers, who's playing very well this year, looking forward to seeing how the Colts can handle that and how the Packers can get along with that defense.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a game. It's a game that both teams need. The Colts, well, really both of these teams are theoretically still alive for the number one seed in their conferences.
Sure. Yeah.
I think Green Bay has a much more realistic shot than the Colts do.
Yes.
But the Colts really need to keep a game up on Tennessee, because we know Tennessee is going to get better. And Tennessee's just kind of hitting that lull right now. So the AFC South is still going to be a battle. For the Packers, I think this is going to be a tough game for them, because generally when they face really good defenses who can get after the quarterback, they have issues.
Yep.
So
if you're looking at this game and thinking the Packers are going to roll because the Colts don't have an offense,
no,
you need to think again, because this Colts defense will surprise you.
The Colts are 2-point favorites, which is probably about right.
That surprised me a little bit. The Packers offense being as good as it is, surprised the Packers aren't favorites.
I think people are kind of cooling down on Green Bay a little bit. Like you said last show, they pretty much are what they were last year.
Yep.
And their path to deep into the playoffs and to a possible Super Bowl is totally going to depend on who they play. They're a team that they can't get past physical teams. So if they happen to have to play Tampa, they're done. If they happen to have to play, of course, the Colts are in the AFC. That's a little different story. But there are a couple of teams in the NFC that I think can smack them around pretty good.
Absolutely. If you got a good defense, you got a recipe to beat this team.
Absolutely. And it's the same with Tampa. Anytime Tampa, not to get off subject, but anytime Tampa plays a team with a good pass rush, they're cooked. If you look at what Brady does when he is under pressure, he's terrible. If that's why when they play the Saints, they can't beat them. Any team that doesn't get pressure on Brady, Tampa will roll them, just like Carolina last week. They'll roll them, but they get pressure. So again, their path forward is going to completely depend on who they play.
Yep. And I'm not sure. I need to look ahead. I'm not sure who the Packers have.
When you look at that's why I think both of those teams are pretenders to an extent. When you look at teams that really, it doesn't matter who they play, that's when you get the cream of the crop of the league. That's when you get your Pittsburgh, your Kansas City, teams that play the same every week, regardless of who their opponent is.
Yeah, I think that, I guess that makes sense with the spread too. Now we're talking about it, I can see that, but I don't know. I like the Packers in this game for some reason. I can't tell you why, but I think it can be close.
Yeah, they shocked me last week. I mean, it took everything they had to beat Jacksonville at home.
Right, exactly. And that's not a good defense.
What is going on here? So,
I know.
But again, you have those any given Sundays, I suppose. But
they have those letdown games. I mean, every team has those.
I actually like the Colts in this game. I think this is a game where they're going to get the attention of pretty much everyone. Of course, they beat Tennessee Thursday Night Football a week ago in a pretty convincing manner, and that got them some attention. But I think this is one everybody's going to go, wow, they really are a contender.
Yeah, I agree. And this is like you're going to come away from this game. If you win, you're a serious contender, and you can not choose your own destiny. It's not that, but you're in the driver's seat, certainly.
Yes, for that division. Absolutely.
Right. Exactly.
Let's talk about a game that could be interesting. I don't think it will be. I think the Vikings will absolutely dominate, but they're hosting the Dallas Cowboys. And so you could say the Vikings have an extra bye week, but it's still a game they have to win. And the reason they have to win is because they started off so poorly. When you start off 1-5, you have no room for error.
Right. And at this game, the Vikings, this is a must win. And that sounds ridiculous to say at this point in the season against a team that's as bad as the Cowboys are, but they have got to have this game. They got to still compete for the division, and even for the wild card. The Vikings cannot afford to have a letdown, as you said before, just because of the games they've already lost. And it does seem like this team is clicking. Dalvin Cook is certainly the talk of the league right now. He has been on fire here the last month of the season, and look for that to certainly continue. Kirk Cousins looks good. He finally got a primetime win on Monday night. So coming off of that, we'll see what they can do in primetime against the Cowboys. But I'm looking forward to seeing that game just for that reason. I don't expect much from Dallas. I haven't all year. But the Vikings, I do look to see what they can do.
Yeah, and I look for Minnesota, honestly, to roll in this game. They've won 3 in a row. They came out of the bye. Something happened during their bye week. I don't know if they got some rest. I don't know if they got their asses chewed out. But since then, they've won 3 in a row. It wasn't pretty against Chicago on Monday night, but a win is a win, and a division road win counts. And so, they're now 4-5. They're going back home. They're a 7.5 point favorite against this Cowboys team, which is still just a disaster. Don't even know who's starting at quarterback. Don't think it matters. I believe Dalton. It's going to be Dalton. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. He doesn't have any protection. The same old story. So
yeah,
I would be just shocked if this Cowboys team beat this Vikings team, because this Vikings team is a lot better than their 4-5 record indicates.
Yeah, no. Yeah, they are. This is not the same Vikings team we saw in September and October.
Yeah, so I like the Vikings to win this game. They may, the Cowboys may hang around, but even then, it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be any trouble for Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't either. I just think it's interesting just because of the situation the Vikings are in right now.
Oh yeah, I mean, a 4-5 team can't have a trap game. But if you look at the beginning of this season, we thought Minnesota would be 6-3 right now, maybe 7-2. We thought they'd be a powerhouse in the NFC.
And I kept saying though, even when they were losing, I kept saying this team is it's basically the same team as last year, and they're following last year's playbook. They start slow and finish high. Yes. It's the same team.
And I think when you look at the NFC and the way it's down across the board, they're very much alive for the playoffs.
No, they are. And I think they'll win 7.5 points, maybe a little generous, but I know why they got it. And we'll see what happens, but I think the Vikings can take this.
There you go.
And I think the just honorable mention, so to speak, Bengals and Washington, Joe Burrow, I think can get a win this week.
Oh, he will.
I think so too. I like Washington. I'm not getting anything away from them, but I think Rivera's done some really good things.
I don't like Washington. I think they're terrible.
They are, but I think Rivera has done some good things there, and they're going to build on that in the years to come.
Maybe. I mean, they need a quarterback. Until they have a quarterback, I don't think anything changes.
But hey, I'm telling you, Alex Smith looked pretty good last week. That was good to see.
Oh, yeah. It's great to see him playing again, for sure.
But I think that's your start of the rest of the year.
Oh, it's got to be. And
and then trade him.
And he's got to be done after this year or close to it. And he's really your Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, he's a serviceable veteran, until you find the player. But
right.
If they, I want to say they're drafting 3rd right now. The draft started today.
Jacksonville is almost screwed up and won last week and messed that up. So I can't let that happen again.
It's like, man, start playing your 4th stringers.
I know.
So I had this debate with a Cowboys fan, and they said I wasn't a true fan because I was cheering for us to go 2-14. And I'm like, what? Of course I'm a true fan.
Yeah, you want that draft pick.
You want the draft pick. What's the point in going 5-11?
None.
At 6-10, so you can.
I mean, that's why I couldn't understand the Dolphins last year winning 5 games. Like,
I mean, it's so you can, so you can get the 12th overall pick.
Right? No, it makes no sense. Exactly. And I'm sure we'll have multiple discussions about the Cowboys in the draft. But just to pick your brain for a minute, where do you think the Cowboys go in the draft?
Well, to finish my thought, and then we'll go to that.
Oh, I thought you were finished.
Well, I was, but then I just thought of this because it was the second part of the discussion is,
all right,
teams tank in the NBA. Teams don't tank in the NFL. You can call it tanking if you want to, but you have to try hard in the NFL or you're going to get hurt. So a team that quote unquote tanks in the NFL, they just play players that aren't very good, right? They send the worst players onto the field, and those players try their best. They're just not good. So that's how you tank in the NFL. Well, somebody was saying, well, are they just not running hard? No, of course not. You're going to get hurt. But anyway, so where are they going to go in the draft? Where should they go? What are they going to do? They should go get a quarterback and get out from under a $40 million a year quarterback they're going to have to pay. They're not smart, so they're not going to do that.
That's what I was getting at. Like, okay,
They're
I know what they
probably
should
going to
do,
trade
but
the
what are they
pick.
going to
They're probably going to trade down for a couple of picks. That would be the next smartest thing to do. And they need picks. They need as many picks as they can get. They need a ton of second round picks because second rounders are starters in today's game.
Yep.
So you need to trade down. You need to trade that number 4 overall pick. Let's just say that's what they get. They need to trade that for some second round picks, maybe even some third round picks. They need to find a team that they can unload Ezekiel Elliott to, which I don't know that anyone would even take him with that contract.
I don't either. Yeah, I don't either.
But they need to find somebody and work some kind of deal to get him out of town. Same with Amari Cooper. Same with every player that's overpaid. They need to strip it down to the studs.
They won't do anything with Amari Cooper.
They won't do anything with any of that because they showed you at the trade deadline they had no interest in improving.
I can see, no, they didn't have any interest in improving. You're right. But I can see them doing something with Zeke just because he is a fraction of what he was 3 years ago. So,
and he's so grossly overpaid. I mean,
right,
just
exactly.
so grossly overpaid.
More of Jerry Jones incompetence.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he would be admitting he had made a mistake. So he's going to ride it till the end. And the fan base, as usual, thinks that if we just get Dak back, we're going to be amazing. We're going to be so good. We were 1-3, but we're going to be so good.
Yeah, I've heard that every year since he got drafted.
Because
so
we don't need any core players,
Right.
To hell with the defensive and offensive line, to hell with the safeties, to hell with the corners. All we need are a bunch of fast receivers.
So stupid.
It's like, what world are you in?
And I'm curious. I am very curious to see what they do with the coaching staff.
They're not going to do anything with it. I don't think they're going to do anything. They may fire.
I think you'll see.
They may fire Nolan, and that's going to be about it.
I think they'll fire Nolan. I also think they're going to make a change at the offensive coordinator, and I think you're going to see McCarthy start calling plays again.
Oh, that would be good.
Maybe. I don't know. He did it in Green Bay, and you saw how that turned out. So,
yeah.
But I think this is an experiment because what the offensive coordinator, I can't remember his name. Who's it?
Oh, Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore. I think Kellen Moore, he only had 1 year last year as offensive coordinator, and this was kind of a testing year to see what he could do in this offense with Mike McCarthy, and I think it failed. And so you'll see McCarthy take over the reins next year.
Oh, absolutely. I think so too. I hated the idea of them retaining Kellen Moore to begin with. You had a fancy new coaching staff, and you still had this inexperienced kid as your offensive coordinator.
Right?
What? Are you doing?
It made no sense.
What are you doing?
Mike Nolan made no sense, and I don't know where they're going to go to get a defensive coordinator that can do anything with that defense. They're so locked into horrible contracts. I'm not sure where you're going to go.
Well, they've got some players. They do need pieces. But I don't know. I can't put my finger on what makes him so bad. I think the schemes are so complicated under Nolan, and he just does not have the players that he used to have years ago when he made those schemes great.
Right.
And so I think that's part of your issue. But I don't know really what you do with that. But if you need, GM, being a GM is hard, but at the same time, the basics of it seem pretty simple, right? Do everything they didn't do. This team.
Right.
There's only a handful of positions you should ever pay big money to, ever. You pay a quarterback, you pay a left tackle, you pay a corner, an elite corner, and that's about it. You don't pay running backs ever. I mean, their shelf life is short. There's running backs all over the league that you can pick up, all in the draft you can pick up. Same with receivers. I mean, the receivers are everywhere.
Yeah, and they should have learned this lesson with the Rams and what they did with Todd Gurley.
Absolutely. And you look at what Pittsburgh did. Pittsburgh did everything right.
God, did they ever.
They let Le'Veon Bell go because they didn't want to pay him. That's
the best franchise in football.
Now they have James Conner.
Yeah.
And he's a lot cheaper than Bell would have been.
And look, he's fine. He can catch balls out of the backfield. He works. He's a workhorse. He'll get you 100 yards a game. It's all you need.
They let Antonio Brown go. They moved Juju up. And now they've got Chase Claypool, who's an absolute beast. Got him in the draft.
Right.
They pay their quarterback, though. They pay their quarterback and their left tackle, and they pay a couple of defensive players.
and they don't have these coaching issues. They
No.
had
No.
issues with what's his name, the OC a couple years ago. Him and Roethlisberger didn't get along.
Oh, Todd Haley. Yeah.
Yeah, Todd Haley.
No.
He's a head case, but
Yes.
so they had that issue. But this, for the most part, this franchise does not have contract problems.
No.
They don't have staffing problems. They get it right every year, and they are locked in at every position without paying a ton of money to any one player.
Right. Exactly. Except for Ben Roethlisberger, who's a little
Who deserves
overpaid, but he's worth it.
Yep, I
He's
think
worth it.
so. I was getting now. This is what I was getting to next is with the Cowboys. I mean, in their minds, Jerry Jones, you assume he's still thinking Super Bowl or bust, right?
You think? You think he's that stupid?
I mean, I think he is just because of ridiculous contracts he's giving out.
Well, I mean, it was one thing to think that when you until last season when they had won the division 2 out of 4 years, they had won a playoff game. They were 2 to 3 steps away from a Super Bowl. Now they're like 30 steps away.
Right.
I mean, they're horrible now. I mean, how anyone cannot think that you need to blow this up is beyond me. And I know the argument, well, Jerry's old. Well, it doesn't take long to turn it around if you do it right. I mean, look at how many teams.
He doesn't do it right. How many times have he failed? He doesn't.
I know, but it's just annoying to me. You would think that someone who has had that much success would have a little more self-awareness, just a little.
You would hope, but I give up on Jerry Jones. I gave up on him a long time ago. He doesn't get it. He doesn't learn from mistakes. He's stubborn, and this is who the Cowboys are. And that's why I was going to ask you if your mindset is going to be Super Bowl or bust, then do you go out and you get somebody like J.J. Watt?
What is that going to do?
I'm not saying it does anything, but I'm saying if that's your mindset, it gives you some stability on defense for at least a couple of games till he gets hurt. But I'm just wondering because you can get him at a discount.
Wait, are you talking about the current season?
No, next year.
Oh,
going in next year. Would you go get J.J. Watt? He's going to be available.
No. For one, he's washed up. For two, he'll be too expensive. For three, there's no possible way that he thinks that this team is going to be a Super Bowl contender. Do you think so? Do you really think so?
I think Jerry Jones absolutely believes it. If he didn't believe that, I don't think he would care about signing Dak long term.
So your argument is that if he was actually self-aware of how crappy the team is and how far away they are, he would have a fire sale right now, or would have.
I think he'd have a fire sale right now or in the offseason. He would offload the big contracts, trade Dak, or maybe I don't think he's going to trade Dak because of the injury. If Dak had to have the injury, trade Dak, get draft picks, and go rebuild this team.
Well, what he should do is franchise Dak again.
Yep.
Well, it depends on the draft pick. If they have a chance at getting Fields or obviously the Jets are going to get Sunshine. That's clear. So the Jets are going to get Lawrence. Fields is going to go to most likely Jacksonville, maybe Washington though. And if you're sitting at 3, there's some great options there too, but I just don't know. But we both know that they're not going to do anything except go with Dak. It's just so obvious now.
No, I know. I still don't know if they're going to sign him to the extension. I think they're going to franchise him, but I don't know what they do beyond that.
Well, I think what they should do, this is not what they will do, but it's what they should do. They should franchise Dak. They should offload Amari Cooper. They should offload Jalen Smith. They should offload Zeke. They should basically tear it down to the studs. Even if they get rid of Cooper, they still have 3 great receivers behind him.
I agree. They shouldn't have signed Cooper to begin with.
No, it was a dumb move. I mean, let him go to. The argument was, oh well, he turned down more money at Washington. Let him go to Washington. Yep. So let him go win 3 games a year over there. He's got nobody to throw the damn ball.
Hell,
to
3 games about he shows up for anyway.
Oh, he's not playing on the road. No. He's so overpaid. I mean, this argument that he's top 3, top 5 receiver, get out of here. Chase Claypool's better than he is. He's been in the league 4 hours.
Absolutely, yeah. Come on. Cooper's not very good. I like Gallup better than Cooper.
Oh, yeah, and I think most people do. Hell, I like CeeDee Lamb better than Cooper.
That's true. I mean, look, you could run and do. Most teams do this. They have 2 wide receivers. You have Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, and get rid of Cooper. I don't know why you have
CeeDee Lamb.
You feel the need.
So many other examples of rookies. Chase Claypool. So many great receivers that are rookies. Your kid for Minnesota from LSU, Jefferson. So many. T. Higgins. I mean, so many. So many examples that it's idiotic to ever pay a receiver $20 million a year.
Absolutely. They're like running backs.
They're a dime a dozen.
Yeah, literally.
And it's because, all the kids that are playing nowadays that are playing football in high school, junior high, none of them are playing linebacker or offensive line. They all want to be a quarterback or a wide receiver because that's where your money is. And that's where your longevity is.
Right. And then, look, the NFL 15, 20 years ago, yeah, you pay your receivers, but the NFL today, you don't have to do that.
The way that so many players, quarterbacks and wide receivers specifically, hit in the draft at a young age now. They go in and they're stars immediately. And if you want to actually win as a team, you don't pay wide receivers and you don't pay running backs.
No. The only people that should be getting paid right now are your starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I would argue you pay a really good left tackle, and I would argue you pay a really good, maybe a safety or a corner,
right, but you're not
corner.
Resetting the market when you sign them.
No.
You're only resetting the market for your quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be 4th down and 10. This is probably over.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's so true. And so, use this wide receiver for 3 years. When he starts hollering for $20 million a year, let him go. Get another one.
I agree.
It's not that hard.
I don't understand why teams have a hard time doing this.
If you follow the last 4 or 5 years of the Pittsburgh Steelers, they played it to perfection.
Yep, as they always do.
Just perfection. They let both the loudmouths go, and everyone said, what are they going to do? Oh, this is what they're going to do. They're 9-0. So the Arizona and Seattle just officially ended. Arizona could not get it in, so the Seahawks are going to hold on 28-21. I felt Seattle would win this game. It was still an entertaining football game, but once again, it was the same thing. It was Arizona falling down 9, getting back within 2 or back within 4, or falling down 9 again. Seattle's a better football team.
They are, in every area. They're a better football team. I think. Look, Arizona. This is not taking anything when it's Arizona team. They've been a very surprising team this year. Nobody looked for Arizona to be where they are right now. Much less beating Seattle even one time this year, which is impressive. So I think Arizona has a lot to build on and a lot to be proud of. And next year, you got to look at Arizona as a serious contender.
Yeah, I still think they're a playoff contender this year.
Absolutely.
I don't think they're going to win this division.
I'm not taking that away from them, but I'm just making a point. I don't know how much we're expecting from the Cardinals the rest of the way, even if they make the playoffs, what we're expecting. But this is a really good young team that's underrated.
These teams really do mirror each other a lot. I can't tell you how impressed I am with Kyler Murray. I mean,
he's been unbelievable.
I was talking about him in week 1 and week 2.
Yep.
And I was talking about this Arizona team, and people were like, what are you talking about? This is what I was talking about.
Yep.
They're now 6-4. Quite honestly, they're lucky to be 6-4 because they shouldn't have beat Buffalo. They lost to Miami. Of course, that was a game that went down to the wire, but they've had some really close games that without Kyler Murray pulling it out, just like Russ does for Seattle, this team would probably be 4-6.
It would be. I can't argue with that. So Kyler Murray is, to me, he's just closer and closer to a comparison with Drew Brees. When you consider his size and the way he throws the ball, I look at him and Drew Brees very comparable.
They are, but I mean, this kid is so fast. This kid is...
No, yeah. But Brees is fast too, though. Not now so much at 41, but 5-6 years ago, Brees was fast too.
I mean, he could move around the pocket a little bit.
Right.
He never had this game where he could just take off and
no.
This is
not in that way.
The great thing about Kyler Murray is he has changed. He has broken every quarterback rule that was unwritten. He says, "Oh, you think your quarterback's having to be 6'2"?" Wilson said, "Nah, they can be 5'10". Murray says, "Nah, they can be 5'8".
Yeah.
Screw it.
And this is a guy who really, I mean, he didn't even know for sure he was going to play football a couple of years ago. He wasn't sure what he wanted to do because he's better at baseball.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And look, him and Russ and Pat Mahomes and a couple of others could all be playing Major League Baseball right now, but I'm really glad they're playing football.
Oh, I am too. It would, and I think there's some rumor out there that Murray still might go after baseball at some point. And so I don't know if he'd do like Deion Sanders did.
No chance the Cardinals let him do that because they're going to lock him down to a really high paid deal in the next year or two. And
yeah, and he deserves it.
Oh yeah, I mean he's playing lights out. I mean I think
he is.
The whole MVP conversation is a little premature on him, but he is so good and his ability to throw the ball. His arm is so strong and he can throw the ball falling away. There was 3 or 4 times tonight I saw him throw the ball falling away and he just put it in perfect spots.
The Hail Mary last week to win the game.
That was fantastic. I mean, he shouldn't have even been able to get away to make that throw. Falling away, he puts it in the air 50 yards on a dime, on a spot. Just fantastic. Just fantastic. So the future is bright because I just still don't know what Cliff Kingsbury is. But at this point, you have to say he's a good head coach. I mean,
I was just fixing to say you got to give Kingsbury a ton of credit because, I mean, nobody thought he would do anything in the NFL. They laughed at the Cardinals making that hire.
Right.
He fired from Texas Tech. This guy was not thought of to be anything serious, and he's been good. He's been nothing but good.
Yeah. So they have the quarterback. They have the coach. They have some talent. They've got D-Hop, which has been a huge addition. And another great team in the NFC West. What else is new? By no means is this over because Seattle still has flaws. So, while this puts Arizona 1 game back, I mean, there's still a lot of football left to be played. And the Rams are not done having their say in it as well. So it's still going to be a 3-team race. And I like the Rams a lot more than you do. I think the Rams are the best team in that division, quite honestly. They're far better than Seattle. They're far better defensively than Seattle. In fact, the Rams have a top 5 defense. The Rams have a shutdown corner. They have a great secondary. They have a good pass rush. They have the best defensive lineman in football. They have a solid quarterback. They have a very smart head coach. I think the Rams are a sleeper for the NFC to win the NFC this year.
While we're talking about the Rams, why don't we talk about them playing the Buccaneers on Monday night?
It's going to be a fantastic game, and I think I'm the only one in the country picking the Rams.
Yeah, I'm picking the Buccaneers for sure.
Well, I'm so shocked that you're picking the team that you love so much.
Well, I just think.
Have you gotten your Buccaneers tattoo yet? Because I'm just so sick.
I have not. It's coming. It's coming.
And the most disappointing thing is you're a Saints fan, but you've been on the Buccaneers nuts all season. It's so. I mean, seriously, dude. Do you sleep in a Brady jersey? I mean, come on.
I look at the way they've played this year, and they've struggled mightily against the Saints, and they've struggled mightily against teams with good defenses.
Yeah,
but on the
which
other,
is all you see in the playoffs.
But the other side of that is they've never struggled 2 weeks in a row. So I think they come out and they get embarrassed against the Saints. I think you're going to see a different Bucs team.
Yeah, but they just rolled Carolina, which means they're due for a loss.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're going to win. They're at home. If they're in L.A., maybe, but at home, I think they're going to win.
I think Aaron Donald is going to make Brady look stupid. And then you have that secondary that's going to lock down behind him. Oh, it's going to be. Now, I could be wrong. I don't think the Rams are going to roll. I'm not saying that. I think it's going to be a good football game. But I think I feel very good about the Rams winning this game. The line is 3.5, Bucs by 3.5, which I think is just about right.
Yeah, I think the line is exactly right. I got the Bucs. In fact, I think I'd hedge my bet on the Bucs.
Really?
I would. I feel that good about it.
God. I don't know, man. I'd go the other way on that.
I don't know if I like him at 3.5. I think I like him better at 3.
It's a half a point.
Yeah, I know.
That's so you'll pick the other way.
No, I'll still hedge my bet on the Bucks. I just would feel more comfortable at 3 than 3.5.
I love the Rams in this game. I love the Colts against the Packers. There's a couple that I like a lot more than I should, and I could be totally wrong, but I just have a feeling on those two. So as of right now, I'm going to tell you the Rams are my team in the NFC to go to the Super Bowl.
Not in on the Rams at all.
I think so. I think so. I like them a lot, and no one's talking about them. They beat Seattle last week pretty easily, and I don't know. I like them a lot more. The further the season goes along, the more convoluted the NFC is. There's no clear teams. Every team has massive flaws. If Tampa Bay plays a good pass rush, they're toast. The Saints may be without Breeze for extended period of time. Question marks there. The Packers have to win a certain way. Seattle is very flawed. Arizona's flawed. The East is a complete disaster. I mean, what is the NFC? It's a bunch of pretty good teams. I mean, I don't see any way if Pittsburgh or Kansas City wins the AFC, I don't see a team in the NFC that could even compete in the Super Bowl against those two teams.
I don't know.
I mean, last year you had San Francisco, who was a powerhouse. There is no San Francisco or anything like that in the NFC this year.
No.
The NFC is so much worse than I thought it would be.
So I'm going to, go to the Saints real quick. I'm going to ask you this question.
All right.
I think I know the answer, and I understand the answer, but it's worth asking. Bring Bridgewater, or not Bridgewater. You bring Winston this week.
Uh-huh.
Let's say he starts throwing the ball downfield. You get this new dynamic to your offense.
Uh-huh.
He's in there 4 games and lights it up.
Right. 4-0.
Yeah. I mean, if it was Bridgewater, it's one thing. But if you got Winston in there putting up, let's just say he's putting up 300 yards a game.
Right.
What are you doing 4 weeks?
Oh, what do I do or what will they do?
Both.
They will go back to Drew Brees because they feel like they owe him.
Mm-hmm.
They should not. They should ride with the hot hand.
See, I'm with you. I think they ride with Winston, or at least ride if he's playing that well, at least ride with him through the season.
He would have to, in order for that to happen, he would have to be performing at a Pat Mahomes type level for a month. Mm-hmm. I mean, just being good enough, like just being Bridgewater of 2019 would not even have that. There wouldn't even be a conversation. He would have to be 4 touchdowns a game, 3, 4, 5 touchdown games. He would have to be throwing for 400 yards. They'd have to be just, otherworldly offensively. And I don't think there's I'm going to say there's no shot of that, but I think he may have one of those games, but I think you're more likely to see 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 245 yards, Saints win 26-20 type thing. I mean, I really don't see there being any controversy there. I could be wrong, but
yeah, I mean, I would, if he's playing well, I would keep him in the rest of the season and let Breeze rest up and get ready for playoffs.
That would worry me though, that you don't even give. I know he's played forever. But it scares me for a quarterback's first start after so much downtime to be a playoff game. I mean,
being the veteran, he's 41 years old. Let him get that rest, and he can be 100% going in the postseason. No other team can say that with their quarterback.
That's true, but I don't know. He played awfully bad last year in that playoff game at home against Minnesota. I mean, just out of nowhere, it looked terrible.
Well, but he came back. He didn't look good coming back from the injury last year either.
That's what I'm saying. So it gives you even more concern that you wouldn't want to get a game under his belt first.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, look, okay, last game of the season. Okay, bring him in for a half.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. If he's ready to go, sure.
Right. I think this is all frivolous. I think the Saints are going to do like you said. They're going to go back to Breeze in 4 weeks, but
Yeah, they
just-
own that. They own
Right.
that. They're going to say that, and like I said, I literally don't think there's anything Winston could do. 4-0, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. 3-0, 4-0.
I tend to agree. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Now that'll cement him as the successor.
Oh yeah.
But it'll be a situation in which Breeze will come back.
So then, if he's a successor, then you look at what do you do with Hill? You just signed him for an extension worth $16 million.
He's a really expensive gadget guy, and I mean really expensive.
Yeah. So what do? You trade him or what?
No, nobody's who's going to pay. Nobody's going to take that contract for a gadget guy. I mean, he only works. I don't know. I don't know why they did that. Honestly,
I don't know. I think because at the time, I think they really thought he was going to be Drew's successor, and they paid him a lot of money so he wouldn't go to the Patriots.
But why? Like, I don't. What has happened? Okay, so if he was supposed to be the successor, what has happened between now and then for them to just be like, "Oh, just kidding"? Like, was it Jameis Winston?
I think maybe, but I think that maybe they've seen some things in practice or in workouts that give them pause about Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I mean,
because in the off season, all we heard was he was going to be the successor to Drew Brees. And that's why they signed him to that extension, because he was going to be the Drew Brees replacement. And there is zero evidence of that.
Yeah, I don't see that happening at all. I think they're stuck with him. What did they sign for 2 years, right?
I think it's 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, no, they're going to have to keep him. It just is what it is.
And that's okay. I mean, it's only 2 years and $16 million isn't going to break him, but you just wonder, you know.
Absolutely. So that's going to be a good game. I can't wait for that game. The other big boy is the Sunday night game, the Chiefs and the Raiders.
Yes,
episode 2 of that show or that series. I just think the Chiefs are going to roll them.
I do too. I think they got embarrassed last time. They were not happy with the way the Raiders acted after they won last time. I think they got a chip on their shoulder, and they're coming off a bye. Reed is great off a bye, so I think the Chiefs roll.
Yeah, we'll see how good this Raiders team is. Now the Raiders, I really don't think there's any shot they win this game. If they win this game, or even if they play it close, then that's going to tell us that this Raiders team is absolutely dangerous.
Yes, no, if they can sweep the Chiefs, that's a game changer. I mean, that's a total game changer.
Absolutely. And the line is 7.5. I think that's at least where it needs to be.
Yeah.
I think that Kansas City, like you said, it's time for a revenge game, and they just. I would Kansas not City, want to be the Raiders.
No, I wouldn't either. I think Chiefs win by 10.
Yeah, easy.
Now it's time to hedge your bets.
All right, my hedge your bets. I'm going to go, and I already said this earlier, I'm going to go with the Buccaneers, 3.5 over the Rams. I really like the Buccaneers in this matchup. I do not like the Rams. Been down on them all year. I think they're a good team, just not great. Buccaneers, they're a very good team. I wouldn't say great because they lose some games they shouldn't lose. But I like the way they're playing overall, and I'm going to pick them to beat the Rams by 4 points on Monday, excuse me. The other team, this was tough. I really thought I liked the Vikings and Cowboys. I really wanted to take that, and I think I would have gone Cowboys to cover the 7.5. But I think I'm going to go with the Patriots and Texans. Patriots are favored -2. Texans playing at home. Patriots had a big win against Baltimore that nobody expected. I think I'm gonna go with the Texans in this one. I like playing at home. They're playing better football. Yeah, I do. I like Houston a lot better than I did to start the season. They've played well under Cornell. They have not gotten blown out in any game that I can think of. We'll see. I like this game. I like the Texans to cover the 2.
Okay, so this is going to be really interesting because I'm going to go opposites on you for both.
Nice.
Games.
All right.
I like the Rams to, let's see. I like them to cover. 3.5 point line. You know what? Let's just let them win the game. They're going to win the game. Rams outright. Outright
Okay.
win. Outright W.
Interesting.
Patriots absolutely going to dominate the Texans. The Texans have the worst run defense in the league. The Patriots are running the ball very well. I like the Patriots by 2 touchdowns in this game, but for sure they're going to win the game.
I don't know. We'll see. I think. I think the Patriots are playing much better, and I was very surprised at the way they won that game last week. But we're gonna stick with the Texans.
This is the point in which, because of the way they started the season, much like Minnesota, the Patriots have no room for error, especially when you look at the 2 teams playing very well in their own division, Buffalo and Miami.
Yep.
So the Patriots have got to keep winning games. If they drop this game, a game they should win against a team whose coach has been fired, who has the worst run defense in the league, then we'll know without a doubt the Patriots' playoff chances are shot. They're in must-win mode for the next month.
I agree with that
Easily. Because if they can get to, 7-6, the last 3 games of the year against division opponents, they're going to roll the Jets. So that's another win. And then they've got Miami and Buffalo, which they could theoretically control their own destiny for that division yet again, which would be crazy to think about.
That is crazy to think about.
So
see what happens.
It's going to be a great weekend of football. I can't wait for these games. It's going to be fantastic. Let's talk about some news around sports before we wrap it up. I know Klay Thompson had a devastating injury. You want to go into that?
Yeah. So I think it kind of sprung up on people. We had the draft yesterday, and I don't think people were really paying attention. And I think he came out right before the draft started. Klay Thompson had a injury, leg injury. We didn't know many details, but it was thought to be pretty severe. And today we did get the news that he did tear his right Achilles. It's important to note that is the opposite leg from what he tore his ACL. So that's, I guess, if there's a shining light here, I guess that's it. But I hate it because I was looking forward to seeing him and Steph Curry again this year in Golden State. Without Durant, that would have been fun to watch.
Oh yeah, because even without Durant, those two are magic, the Bash brothers. So
yeah.
That's a devastating blow for that team.
It is. I agree. I think it is. And, and in the draft, the Timberwolves selected Anthony Edwards out of Georgia with the number 1 pick. Golden State, they did have the number 2 pick. They picked James Wiseman out of Memphis at number 2. We'll see, what he can do in Golden State. Maybe, they say he can shoot the ball. So, maybe he can create some magic with Steph, and maybe they can make something work out there in Klay Thompson's absence. But certainly a big hole to fill. Right off the bat.
And this draft was interesting because there's a bunch of prospects, but there's really nobody that you say, oh, that's a can't miss prospect.
Well, yeah, because we had no season last year for the most part.
And you have, of course, you have LaMelo going to Charlotte. And so that should be interesting to see. I think he's better than Lonzo was, but I still don't think he's going to be a superstar in this league.
He can't shoot the ball. He's got a horrible shot.
Well, he's a better shooter than Lonzo.
Yeah, he is, but I don't know how much that's saying. Yeah, I don't know, what that really means. And, if his dad can shut up, then maybe he'll have some chance. But,
good luck with
the Ball family, I think that's the kid's problem. And most of the time it's just the dad being a blabbermouth.
Well, there's 2 sides to that coin. One is their dad's a big distraction. But the positive side is he's basically got both of those kids drafted where they were drafted.
Oh, look, he's done a phenomenal job.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, the branding, he's a genius.
And LaMelo didn't go to school. I mean, don't forget that. LaMelo didn't go to college.
Not at all. Not at all.
It's fascinating to see. So
it really is. But whenever LeBron went to LA, that's the first things he did was ship them out, and that was pretty funny.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it was a good move. It was a real good
Lonzo
move.
and Lonzo and company the hell out of here. This is we're here to win a championship,
right? And he goes to New Orleans. You don't hear from LeVar Ball anymore.
No, I haven't heard from LeVar in a while.
No, I haven't either. And even in this leading up to the draft, I didn't hear from him in any of the talk shows he normally goes on. So maybe he's finally stepping back, and I hope so, because he's not doing his kids any favors.
No, and look, I hope they both play well. I don't think they're going to be anything special, but you never know.
Thank you. I mean, the book is almost written on Lonzo Ball. We'll see what LaMelo does, but. No, at this point, we know what Lonzo is, and we know what he's not. And,
right.
So he's a serviceable player. He's
a great passer. He's a really good
passer. Yeah, for sure. But he's not going to win a game for you, and he doesn't have a great jump shot. So
right.
He's, as long as the dad shuts up and Lonzo can just focus on Lonzo, I think he's okay.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
And going out. So the Bulls had the number 4 pick. They got Patrick Williams out of Florida State, surprising pick. We'll see what they do with that. That's another good young stud. They've talked about a lot. So we'll see what he can do in Chicago. Certainly Chicago's on a team that's been up and down the last few years, and they're looking to create some magic, and maybe Patrick Williams be that spark that they need.
Yeah, it's, the league is better when the Knicks and the Bulls are good, and they've both been bad for so long now. And the ratings for the NBA have been a free for all for a decade.
Yes.
And, the cool thing to do now is to say, well, that's because of the political stances. And sure, that has a little bit to do with it. But most of the people that would be offended by that probably weren't watching the NBA anyway. And I think their bigger issue is, name recognition or lack thereof. I mean, it's just... I know who a lot of these players are, but even in this draft, I didn't know most of these kids. No one did.
No.
And every time I watch the NBA from season to season, I know less and less players. And it's not necessarily because I'm paying attention less. It's just because they haven't done a good enough job of building a pipeline of stars. And
no, they haven't.
They don't take college as the free marketing option it should be. You look at what the NFL does with college football, and while it's different, and your players in the NBA typically only play one season in college, which is just ridiculous. I hate that rule, but it is what it is. It's still a time where they can build that branding. You look what's his name? Zion. Had Zion Williamson not gone to Duke, he would not be near the star he was coming into the league. So they need to do a better job of that. They really do.
No, they do. No question. And we'll see, what this next season is going to be interesting. How these rookies come along, playing in a shortened season, which we'll get to in a second. But this is going to be an interesting year for the NBA.
Sure will. And what else is going on?
We'll round up the top 5 of the draft first. The Cavaliers, in the number 5 pick, they picked Isaac Okoro out of Auburn. We'll see what they do with that pick. Cavaliers certainly are looking to get something going since LeBron left. So maybe this is something they need to start. Maybe this is a player they can build around to start getting back in the swing of things. They certainly have been not very good.
Breath, Cavs fans.
Yeah, I'm not either, but you never know. We'll see what these players can do, and coming off of a difficult year for sure, we'll see how they react to the NBA style of play. Speaking of the NBA, the season will for sure start December 22nd, and they're going to play a 72-game schedule. So we'll see what happens there. I think that's the right call. Trying to get 82 games in, just ending the season. About a month or two ago, you're rushing free agency.
Yes.
So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. And also, speaking of the NBA, you got Jason Hayward in Boston. He opted out of his contract. He's an unrestricted free agent.
Gordon
as
Hayward.
Of today. Gordon Hayward, sorry. So that's going to be see where he lands. That's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of surprised he did that, and
I am too, because Boston's got a lot of pieces there, and they got a good coach.
They do. A couple interesting things to watch too or to note is CP3 now with the Suns.
Yes,
which is going to be interesting, and Harden still trying to make his way to to Brooklyn, which is fascinating.
That was shocking. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah. And I think they're going to get it done. I mean, it's going to depend on if Durant wants it. And I think he does.
Everything I've read, Durant wants it for sure.
You know, Kyrie doesn't want it, but you ship Kyrie out. If you can get Harden, then
trade Kyrie to Houston.
Yeah, Kevin Durant needs to essentially go to management and ownership and say, get me Harden and get rid of everybody else.
Yep.
Because those two are the only two I think that could rival AD and LeBron. And that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. Because if you bring Harden in with Kyrie and with Durant, I don't know how that works.
No, Kyrie and Harden. I mean, Kyrie is essentially Harden light, and that wouldn't work. I mean, they're the same player and the same style player. And we know Kyrie doesn't work well with others. So that's kind of, that would be a disaster. But if you could somehow work Kyrie out of the equation, it would be really awesome to see Durant and Harden together.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to see that. And I think it would work better than what you've seen with AD and LeBron. Well, I will see. I mean, the NBA, it's still going to be an off season for a lot of reasons. Just still dealing with the COVID thing, still not having fans in arenas, and
right.
So trying to navigate that and keep everybody well. It's still going to be a difficult season. We'll see how they can react to it, not being in the bubble. And look, if they,
that's going to be interesting.
It is, and I will say that the NFL has really done a magnificent job of controlling this, because it looked like that first month it was going to get out of hand, and they have done a really good job of getting the players tested, and holding out the ones that need to be held out. But I love what they're doing as compared to college. College, they're going off contact tracing, and it's been a disaster. College has not handled this well at all.
No.
So I do like what the NFL is doing, and I did not think the NFL would have the success that they've had. I don't think they've had to cancel any games. They've postponed a couple, but they've really done well. And if that continues, they've got a lot to be proud of.
Yeah, they do. And their method is going to be put to the test, because cases are spiking everywhere. Yes. And we're going into phase 2, or, the winter version of this, this shit show nightmare, whatever you want to call it. So I still think we may hit a rough patch here in the next 2 to 4 weeks in the NFL, but I hope I'm wrong.
We could, but they've done a good job. Even when they've hit rough patches, they've been able to manage it and coordinate it and have the pieces in place. So, we'll see what happens the rest of the way, but it's just worth noting that what they've done so far has been really good. And that got me off track there for a minute, but just to finish off the news, Theo Epstein leaving the Chicago Cubs. That was kind of a surprise. His contract was up next year, and they knew he was going to leave, but he's leaving a year early. From what I've read, he wants to take a year off, and he does intend to return. Don't have a destination, but something to keep an eye on, because wherever he lands, rest assured that team will be a contender.
Oh, yeah, he's fantastic.
And he's unbelievable. I mean, just what he did with the Cubs and even Boston before that. You can't put into words. I mean, he's been fantastic as an executive.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, I think that's going to just about wrap it up for us. You have anything else to go over?
No, I think that's it. Good to be back with you, and good to be covering sports again, and looking forward to Sunday.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening, guys. As we said, we are back twice a week again. We will be back with you Sunday night. You'll hear us Monday, rather, and we will see where we were right and wrong on these games, and we'll talk about all of it. Have a great night. And that's going to do it for us for this episode of Bending the Bracket. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to follow our latest content. You can also find us on Facebook or Twitter @Bending Sports. Have a great day.